Hello! Welcome to the May 2022 Plan With Me. If you're new here, my name is Kanova. I'm not going to waste any time in introducing the theme. The theme for May is Ethereal Desert. Not dessert, but desert. And it's based on the Archer and Olive subscription box from June 2021. So we're doing a little bit of a throwback. So if you received the box or did some unboxing, you may have caught that there was a bit of a typo in some of the internal materials for the box. They misspelled desert and they spelled dessert, which I found quite humorous and a little bit charming, if I, might say so. The box included, as you can see, some washi tape, some acrylographs, cover, lots of really great things. I'm showing some of them here. The thing I got the most use out of was this notebook that I'm showing here that included 3 different types of dot grid paper that you could just tear out and use. We are going to use a page of it in this setup. What I wanted to do was take the time to really use some of the subscription box materials because I subscribe and I love it, but oftentimes the items sit on my shelf because I tend to like to create my own spreads, use my own ideas. And so this is me distilling some of the ideas from the sub box into my own sort of aesthetic, if you will. Now, we're going to lean pretty heavily into some of the things they featured in the sub box. You can see here the box is going to feature pretty heavily in what I'm going to do in these spreads, along with the colors, and I'm going to use the washi tape as well. Not all of it, but some of it. So I just wanted to invite you, if you wanted to take a look at the sub box, to check in the description box. I'll link to the original unboxing and I will get started in showing you what we have planned for this month. I will say up front that this is probably one of the easiest spreads in terms of recreation that I have ever created. When I do these setups, I'm not expecting recreation. What I hope is what people get from the videos is exactly what I get when I am watching videos, which is you get inspired by just a little something, you take it away, and then you interpret it in your own way. Are you ready? Okay, let's get started with the Ethereal Desert throwback, if you will, bullet journal setup. So I did do a little pre-sketching, though I don't really know if you could call any of what I've done in these journal setups drawings. It's mostly just shapes. So don't get scared when I say something is simple and then all of a sudden I start saying that I did pre-drawings. Most of it, as you can see, was based on paper. I leaned in heavily to these colors and I went into my own paper stores. I went to the store and purchased lots of different paper based on these acrylographs and this washi tape. At this point, I had an inkling of what I was going to do, but I didn't have like a real solid plan. I knew that I wanted to keep the spreads as simple as possible. I knew that I wanted to use some of the iconography from the box, but I didn't want to recreate it directly from the box, and I knew that I didn't want to recreate the washi tape itself from the box in the spreads, but instead to be inspired by it. So dig into your own paper. You don't even have to use these colors. You really can do this theme without it even necessarily being a desert theme. Again, I'm going to keep it as simple as possible. But first, let's clean up some of this paper. There was so much of it, I couldn't keep it all on my desk. My desk is super tiny. I live in New York City, so space is at a premium. And so let's start with the paper. As you can see, I went in and got as much paper as I could close to the colors originally created. And all I'm doing here is ripping up paper. All the spreads are inspired by photographs of these beautiful desert rock formations I found. I thought they were great, and it was a great start. And then I also ended up finding this invitation which had this layered paper effect, and I thought, oh, I can create the look of the rocks without having to draw or shade or anything, simply by ripping paper. And who can't do that? Now, I will say that everything in this setup is going to be about process. So we're just going to recreate, and you're going to see how I create with the order I created. Often I edit these videos so that you can see the setups as they are being created as a full, complete page. In this case, we are going through the full process of creating the bullet journal spreads, which means we're going to be moving from one page to the next page depending upon what we are using. I didn't want to pull out the watercolors. I definitely wanted to use items from the box, so I am creating these dunes, and really they're just like roughly shaped triangles, and just about anyone can do that. And I am coloring them in with the acrylographs. These acrylographs came in the box, and they are the smallest nib size, which I think is like the 0.7 millimeter nib size, which isn't great for filling in background. These are great for details, but I am a firm believer. I love these pens, these acrylograph pens, but you really kind of need both sets. You need if you're going to use them for a lot of different setups, you probably want to buy both of the nib sizes. I really wish Archer and Olive would create pens that have both nib sizes so you can interchange them. All right, I also wanted to create this sort of sunset effect, and I use Distress Oxide ink, the Holtz, that you can purchase just about any art store, and it comes in a variety of colors. So I wanted a watercolor effect, that blended effect, without actually putting water on the pages. The sun you saw was borrowed directly from the washi tape, and it was just an image that was on the washi tape that I thought would work great in addition to the paper. I am still leaning into and loving this weekly setup. I can't see myself changing these weekly setups. I used to change them kind of periodically based on the spread, but as far as organization is concerned, and that is why we bullet journal, for organization, to keep us organized and on top of things, this setup is chef's kiss for me. It's called the Alistair method. It's the OG, as I like to say, method of weeklies. It's a rolling weekly. So for me, on the right side of the page, I put my tasks, and there's a little day of the week, and I can determine when I'm going to do that, and then I do all the other weeklies. Now I am going in here with my gold pen now, and I am working on my mood tracker. This is a combination of my mood tracker and my line a day. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go in and color in these sort of spaces here on the side with various colors, and I'm thinking patterns throughout the month, and each of the colors and patterns will represent different things. I post the finished mood trackers on my Instagram. I'll leave that in the description box as well if you're interested in seeing some of those finished mood trackers. I wanted to continue to have tabs. I find them incredibly useful for turning back, and once you're done with the month, being able to get back in and find the things you need. We're leaning again into this torn paper. Who can't tear paper? We are riffing a little bit and creating variations in color in terms of the jagged edges along these. I bought various colors in the same color family to create these. And as you can see, I am just experimenting and making sure that all the different areas can be seen, and then I'm going in, gluing it, and then trimming those edges to make them exactly how I want them in each setup. Now, each week will have a different defining color based on the colors in the sub box, and variations on that color on the side of the tabs. When you see this completed, it really is quite beautiful, but also quite simple. I am using the Tombow. I still haven't figured out exactly how it's pronounced because everyone seems to pronounce it differently. But I'm using the permanent glue from that collection, their glue collection, and it's great. And there's two tips on it. There's a wide tip and then there's a more detailed tip. So I will include that also in the description box. I told you, process. So we're going through. I'm adding the washi tape just as a border to add a little pizzazz to some of these pages and also to bring all those colors together. The washi tape isn't featured, it's not an important feature, it's just a beautiful finishing touch on these pages. Now, I added in this copper colored washi tape from a bunch of washi tape metallic washis that I bought from Amazon. It's thin and I use these tapes a lot. I often use washi just to finish up pages more so than anything else, and occasionally I'll base a whole spread on that setup. I'm adding in my bill tracker, monthly breakdown, my audition tracker, and now I'm going to get ready to go in and stamp. I wanted these numbers to kind of resemble a sunset and be varied on each page. There's no sort of rhyme or reason in terms of colors. I'm just sort of riffing here. And the stamp pad is a stamp pad I bought ages ago from Michaels, and from time to time I use it. You can use each individual color, or you can create sort of a rainbow effect by stamping across the whole thing. I decided to use a stencil for the lettering. This stencil came in a pack I bought from Amazon. I struggle with lettering. Most of the time I make an attempt to do so, but I really wanted this cover page to be exactly what it was. I wanted to be able to look at it and be very happy with how it turned out. I'm using my Uniball Signo gold pen, one of my faves, to go in and outline these rock formations, and I do this on every page. I'm not going to show you all of it, but I went in on every page. Let's do this final flip. The final flip is my favorite part of these videos because I'm sort of all over the place talking about process, and you really see how things come together when you get to the final flip. What I will say about this setup is I'm very pleased with it. It is inspired by, but not exactly like, the sub box, and I really think in terms of aesthetic it's very me. There's a great simplicity, so you get a lot of visual effect without a lot of work, basically, which I love. I'm always looking for the maximum visual effect. I got this sun motif from this particular set from the washi tape, and that's pretty much all I use. I thought about adding some cactuses, but I was like, simplicity, and I'm really happy that I just stayed with that idea. I'm also really excited about how these weeklies are the same but somehow different. I do regret not waiting for them to completely dry before moving on to the next page. Sometimes you just gotta do that. I actually have considered going back in and putting a little paper color on top of that to sort of represent, but I probably will just leave it alone. These extra spaces, in case you're wondering what I do with them, I sometimes put mantras or quotes or just fun things. During this setup, I could already tell that this white section is probably going to get pretty dirty. So something to think about. You can do this really in any colors you want. I don't even know if you have to really consider it the desert. The line of day is probably going to be my favorite thing. I really love how this all came together. I used, again, I only used 2 washi tapes from this whole set, and I'm going to go in with these acrylographs and fill in those sections. This is it. It came together really quickly. The most time was spent in drawing the weekly setups, the lines for the weekly setups, and coloring in. If you like this content, please like and subscribe, and put in your favorite desert emoji in the comment section. I'll see you next month.